I mean, look at this. Look at how strong this is, you guys. This way, and I'll show you how strong this is. It is just not going to pull through there. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, guys, so here's what we're looking at. We've got a new way of setting these beads up so that the stoppers on here don't rip through them. So this is a number 8 to 12, and that's for monofilament. And that means that the size of the hole in this bobber stop is going to squish open to the size of 8 to 12 pound monofilament. And that should fit on there plenty tight enough to hold your bobber as a bobber stopper. Now what this is also going to be used for is stopping these beads, these soft beads, from coming off and down to my hook. So it's got a multi-use that you can use it for. It's got several reasons that we use it for saving gear. We use it also on the underneath our bobbers on our main line, so that if we do break off our weight, our slider weight, then this is going to stay on that main line and stop your bobber from coming off in the water. So right there, I've just named 3 reasons why you would use a rubber bobber stop. Now the reason I use rubber is it sticks and squishes harder, and you can get a smaller size to go on a bigger size easier than you can with the cloth. The cloth, for me, it doesn't seem to grab and bite as hard. Maybe it doesn't give you enough length to tighten it hard enough, but I just haven't had a lot of luck with the cloth, especially on braid. It's really slippery when it goes cloth to cloth. Those two materials just don't bite. This bites on braid, this bites on mono. So this is really the suggested bobber stop for me that I've used over the last few years, testing against the other bobber stops, just back to back with multiple people all at the same time. And this slides way less when it gets caught in the eyes of the rod when you're casting. So for this situation, what we're going to do is show you how to put this bobber stopper on. And these are Bomac. These are Bomac egg bobber. It says bobber stop eggs. We use more than eggs. I'm not sure why they labeled egg part, but that's fine. And so again, this is made for bobbers, to stop those bobbers from sliding up. And this is rated for 8 to 12 pounds. If you can see that good enough there, 8 to 12 pounds. Now what we're running is 15-pound test, okay? This is 15-pound fluorocarbon. It's a little bit stiffer, so it's going to kind of keep my line down in there. When I'm bobber fishing, I like to use fluorocarbon for that. Usually I'm switching back from mono and fluorocarbon for the reasons of density and how it floats, as well as visibility and clarity of water. So let's go ahead and show you here. I've already got this hook tied on. I've showed you how we tie the hook on. We're just using a simple clinch knot. I have a video I'll show you here. In the comments and the links is how to tie this clinch knot. It's pretty simple. It's just 7 times around and go back through that loop. We tie it on the back of the shank, and I use this hook tie for almost all of my setups, from my bead setup, from my egg setup, my bait setup, and my artificial float setup. It's very universal, it's very strong, it doesn't break. If it kinks and folds over like this, you can put a little bit of a bend in there and get that thing to sit upright just like this does now. Okay, so this is the knot we're using, and once you got your hook tied, if you prefer to tie it a different way, that's fine. I suggest you watch the video why I tie it like this, because if we hook a fish, there's no line here to get nicked by those fish's teeth, so it's kind of important to keep this line clear. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, and we've got about a 4-foot leader here so that I can trim it down or up if I needed to, about 5 feet. So this is how you add a rubber stopper for a bobber or your soft egg, or for your bobber to come off. It stops it for multiple reasons. They have this set up on here with a bead so that when you go ahead and put this on your bobber setup, you pull that bead off along with this at the same time, and this bead is going to go ahead and keep everything from sliding down. So you're going to use that bead when you put this on for a bobber stopper. But in this case, we're not going to need that bead, so we'll just go ahead and burn it and put it in our bead box. Okay, what we're going to do is go through this little loop in the top. And they made this loop for you to take this tag end of your leader line and go through that loop just like that there. See how that's through? Okay, now go ahead and fold it over. Now for me it's really easy. I just grab it and slide it on. But for this situation, so you can see what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pinch this right here so that it kind of stays on there. And then I'm going to get this bobber stop part way on there like that. If you push it and start to push it over. So now I can show you. When you start to push this on, it's going to pinch this tag end and this main line of your leader or main line on your rod. And it's going to start pinching it together like this and squeeze through that hole. This is the important part. Remember what I said is we have 15-pound test, okay? This is bobber stop is for 8 to 12-pound test. So what that means is I'm going to squeeze this over a thicker line than what this thing is designed for, and what's going to happen is it's going to squeeze and it's going to be very tight on this leader line, and it's going to have very little chance of sliding when I don't want it to, okay? So what we're going to do is I'm going to hold it like this so you can see what's happening and push it with my fingernails as it goes over. It's going to pull those through there. Okay, you can see how it's coming through, and that line is just pulling it. And again, if you want to take this and you're doing a bobber on here, you just take this bead with that stopper, okay, take the bead and the stopper, and you push them both across that line, and that tag end's just going to come out. And when this tag end pops through that rubber stopper, watch how this is going to free up, and it's going to leave the bead and the rubber stopper on whatever you're attaching it to. And here comes your tag end that you then tie and attach to your main line. You just go ahead and slide off that wire setup that they have on there. Set those stops aside, and now you've got your bumper stop on here and your bead that I told you. In this case, we don't need the bead. So if we were doing our bobber, we might leave that bead on there. In this case, we're just going to leave that and burn it. And now we're going to go ahead and kind of bend this back because I did it so slow. If you do it fast, you won't get a kink right there. Just gave me a kink because I was doing it really slow to show you guys. So now you have that bobber stop on there. And because it's rated 8 to 12, instead of, say, 12 to 20, this thing is going to stick on there. See, I'm pulling pretty dang hard. So if a fish pulls on that and a bobber goes down, it's not going to slide when you cast. It's not going to slide. So it's important that it doesn't slide when a bobber goes down. It's important it doesn't slide when you cast and this gets caught in the eyes of the rod. This will slide up and down. So I always overrate the size of line that I'm running through the hole on these rubber stoppers, and you're going to have great success with that casting long distances and not sliding and moving on you. And if it does, it'll be very little, and it hopefully won't mess up your game. So what we're going to do is go ahead and slide this up because we're using this right now as a stopper for a soft bead setup. And I'm going to bring this down for the soft bead section of this video. We're going to go at about 2 to 3 lengths. Now I go depending on the size of the bead. Because it's a bigger bead, I'm going to go to 3 finger lengths, just like this, which call that 1.5, 2 inches or so. Okay. Now what I'm going to do for the size of soft bead I want to put on here, I basically am going to gauge that by the size of this gap. Now see, this one's a little bit too small because we're using a 2/0 hook here, and the only reason that we're using this hook for intensive purposes is it's a wide gap, it's a mosquito, meaning it's very thin, and it's also super needle point. So this hook has got a really good gap, which you want to check in your regulations to make sure it's legal to use that gap on the tributary that you're fishing on. So this setup, we're going to bring down here. Now the normal bobber stoppers that they have for these look like this, okay? And you see this is matched with this size, this is matched with this size, and this would be matched with this size. Now the problem that I and lots of people have found is this is very soft. I'm not even going to very push on it. I'm going to barely touch that and see how that folds over. I mean, you barely squeeze it. Now watch me squeeze it and watch how it just folds. What happens is that folds just like that, and it turns at an angle like this, and it shoots right through that hole right there. and then it pops out the other side. This slides down to your hook, and you're sitting there trying to fish, and this thing comes through that bobber stop, and it's down here now, and it's blocking the hook gap, and that's no good. You don't want this up here. It'll block that hook gap. So what you want to do is, and I'll give credit to Dwayne for sharing this with me, these are called Sequins. Now, remember how that other stopper squished? Look how easy that squishes. Now, hopefully we can get a good video of this here, of both of them at the same time. Now, when I push on my skin on my fingers, watch this squish. Now, look at me trying to squish this one. Watch my skin turn white on my fingers as I try to bend this one. I'm using 20 times the amount of force as it takes on this side to get this to bend. It's just not bending, guys. I mean, look at that thing, and it's flexing back. It's very strong, so it's not going to fold over and shoot through your bigger egg clumps when you're casting. If you're casting, there's many different reasons. If you're on a river where you got to cast out past a rocky shoreline to get it to a different slot, there's a lot of different reasons where you might want to use this type of setup versus this. So again, what we're doing, now that I've showed you that, is we're using this bobber stopper, the rubber style, and then we're just going to take a sequin. It's cupped. The sequins are actually cupped the opposite direction. You can see that here. If I put this across there, you can see there's a gap. It's cupped. You want that cup facing up to the bottom side of these eggs, okay? So go ahead and go through the sequin and slide that down there. Keep that cup facing up to where that egg's going to be, and watch that slides right down to that bobber stopper that we put on there that's very strong. Remember how strong that bobber stopper is? Look at that, turns my fingers white before it slides, okay? This is key. You can keep this thing out here fishing all day. Just squirt your scent on there over and over and not have to sit there and retie leaders, because these things rip through and it ruins those. It'll rip them. And then once you have it ripped, you can't run this through there again. Obviously, every cast is just going to come through and the current's just going to suck it down to the water. You're definitely not drift fishing with this. Maybe get away with bobbering it, but once it rips, it's done. Okay, so now that you got this all set on here, okay, now some of these don't come with holes. This one comes with a hole. So for this one, all we have to do is go to that hole, push that right through there just like that. See how that comes through that pre-perforated hole. Slide this on down, and you'll see that that sequin is matching that shape, that arc of that ball, which is perfect. Now that soft bead is going to hit this metal and stop, and it's not going to squish through there. This is not going to bend and turn sideways like these other stoppers. Now take this and watch it. Look at how strong this is, you guys. I mean, look at this. I am not pulling it through the bead, but I am actually pulling this oversized line through this undersized stopper, and look at all the force I'm using to slide it all the way down, and it never rips through. Okay. So, as I was showing you guys, the sequin is really super strong on any of these beads, okay? Now, of course, with this size hook, as I was showing you before, it's going to be too big for this little tiny bead, okay? That's just a little monstrous. You want them to strike at this bead and not really see the hook, I suppose. So I'm going to take this bead back off. Like I showed you, it's already got a perforated hole that goes through it. And then you can just slide it through and slide this bobber stop on here. For this new setup that's going to work great for bigger clumps and bigger ones and the standard size. This setup is what we're following up to. So for your bigger clumps and even my standard clumps, this is what I'm going to be using from now on to stop these eggs from coming off, because those normal stoppers just tend to be a little bit too much. So say you buy some eggs like these ones here, and there is nowhere to thread them through, okay? It looks like there might be a hole in here, but it's just a perforation spot from the forming when they molded it. There's little tiny spots on there. I don't see any holes in there. So what we're going to do is basically the same thing as the concept with these bobber stops. You're just going to get yourself a nice good sized sewing needle. Remember to make sure you get it big enough to put 15-pound line through. If you go for 40 or 20 or anything bigger, you're going to need a good sized needle to get through there. Any bigger than that, you're going to make a big hole in that soft bead, and it's going to make it easier for anything to slip through. But also remember, you can get these sequins in different sizes. I like this size because it works, and I don't need anything bigger. So here's the deal, guys. Run this through the eye of that needle, just like that, just like what we did before. And I'm going to put about 6 inches on there, something like that. So it's just plenty of room on there. And then I'm going to take this big soft bead that I want to put on there, or you can take a small one that doesn't have a hole in there. And you're just going to find a good spot on here. What I like to do is get that sequin to cup right over the top of one of these eggs. If you have it go down in between, it'll turn sideways and it's going to lose its ability to cup and grab a hold of this. So make sure if you're using this style and it's not perfectly flat and round like these ones, go ahead and make sure you go through one of the center of these eggs right here, just like this. Right through that center. Okay, and make sure it goes through as straight as possible. Out the other side. This side I don't care so much. It will be free floating. Now, just like with the bobber stop, you can see how it's pinched both of my lines, the tag end and the leader line in there. And I'm just going to pull this through just like this. And when that pops out, look at that. That bad boy is on there. Go ahead and slide your needle off. Now you can see real close how you have this on here. Now I've got it going through, right through that ball, so that sequin, watch how that sequin is going to suck right up to that thing, and the cupped part of it is going to go right on there, baby. Now look at this tension I can put on here, and I'm not worried about that coming loose and sticking me in the hand. And you can't see, but look how hard I'm pulling on this thing. I mean, that's ripping through. I pull any harder and it's going to cut into my skin, and this is 15-pound line. Look at that, you guys. You can cast this over and over and over, and it's going to even be hard to slide, much less actually go through there. So you can keep this, so the current, watch how hard I pull here, the current, it will not make this slide down. Look at this, you guys. If you yank this at the hook, it's not going to slide down because we went with that oversized 8 to 12 on 15-pound test. Remember, you've got to offset those sizes to keep it from sliding. The second trick were the sequins. Thank you again, Dwayne, for sharing that, and whoever shared it with him. Let's teach everybody how to catch a fish instead of give them a fish, and they can feed their families for a lifetime instead of one night. So here you go, you guys. This is my new trick. I wanted to show you that two things. Bobber stop one is one that I come up with the oversized. I'm sure other guys have figured that out. A buddy of mine told me about the sequins instead of using these, because I really honestly did not like fishing with these, because the way these would rip through there and I'd go through these beads left and right, and more than anything, it cost me time in the water. I don't care about the cost of the bead, but the time in the water, I don't like time out of the water. So I'm going to try and show you guys real quick on my finger how tight. Look at how tight, how much tension. And I'm going to just hold the bead only. A lot of guys don't believe this stuff. I'm going to go around my finger 3 times. And I'm only going to pull that bead, you guys. Watch this. Just the bead only. I'm not holding this line right here. And look at my finger, and I haven't pulled yet. Look at the amount of tension on there. And I'm not sliding. I'm not sliding on this line. And it's not even close to trying to rip through or bend through this egg. I wouldn't do that with one of these. I'd be worried it would fold over, cave in, and I would slide down and hook myself doing that. Okay, so this is how good this setup works without actually showing you in the water. I'm going to stop now so I can get circulation back to my finger, and again show you how that is lined up and cupped right on one of those eggs. If you have a big round ball for bead and it's big and round, that won't matter because it'll stay nice and flat on it anyways. I mean, time in, time out. Look at this, guys. Not sliding, not ripping through. And this is how hard I was pulling on that. I wasn't faking it, okay? See that line in my skin? Or soft bead, whatever you're using, whatever you prefer. I hope this helps you guys out. I'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to hit notifications and subscribe, share, like, and definitely make comments. The feedback takes me a million miles at showing you guys how to do stuff. I've had people give me feedback, and I've taken underwater cameras out to prove or disprove what their feedback was, and I've learned from that. So I appreciate the feedback, and I hope to see you guys on the next one.